Hi, y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all-natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
And we like to bring y'all awesome guests.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've been thinking about it so much, like the little things that I've been able to include every day that our ladies have brought, just how much more peace I feel when I walk outside. No, let me go stand by the trees, even if I don't put my forehead on the trees or lay on the trees like Cecile and Dr. Amanda Kent might. I'm still going over here sharing my carbon monoxide to get dioxide to get some oxygen, and it's a reciprocal relationship, and I'm enjoying that,
I was reading an article when I was traveling this week, and I
Okay.
should have tagged it because I'm not going to be able to reference it. I'll try to find it during the show.
Okay.
But do you know where the original term tree hugger came from?
Did we talk about it already? Have we talked about it last? I don't think so. Tell me, where'd you find it?
It was from environmentalists. It was from activists who literally put their bodies on the line, women, to protect the trees.
Was it like they were going to cut these trees down for a factory or something, and they literally
something like that.
put their arms around, and didn't they get arrested and everything?
Oh, I'm
Something
sure.
Like that. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, I'll have to try to find the article, but that is where the term tree hugger comes from.
I think I remember that.
And I was reading it like on the go, but it just really, especially in the times we're currently in, with people putting their bodies on the line for things that they believe in.
Yeah.
And Sheila, one of our authors, our Women Connected in Wisdom authors, I was reading her article over on Substack. She was talking about, what do you love enough to fight for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that right now, especially, in what's going on and the cuts that are happening on the national level. And, this week, the National Arts Association cuts to funding, and which directly impacts multiple organizations I work with and the work I do in the world. And it's it's a lot right now. It is a lot.
Yes.
This is one of those days, like, I could have just kept dancing.
Yeah.
Like, just closed my eyes and kept going. So, how are you, first of all?
Working on that. If I feel like it's a moment when I can rest a little bit more, and can I afford the rest here? Let me do that. Okay, let me do that a little bit more, right? If I want another popsicle and it's a second one or a third, because I'm an adult, I've been eating a couple at a time. Okay, I'm going to be honest, and it's the fresh fruit ones.
Okay, fresh fruit. I was about to say, we have been jamming over here on the Yasso Greek yogurt ones. Have you had those?
I usually stay away from yogurt, like the dairy and stuff.
No. Okay, you stay away.
That sounds
even
good.
The Greek yogurt. Okay, well then forget about it. No, you wouldn't like them at all.
They probably are good. And you have a good list. So if y'all do Greek yogurt, what's the rest of it that you were going to say? What were you going to say so the listeners and everybody knows?
Oh, I can't even remember the name of them. But they're like vanilla yogurt covered in chocolate with a little crunch. But they're pretty okay because of them being Greek yogurt. So
okay.
You said popsicle, and that's where my brain went.
I love it. And we've been enjoying like the vegan ice cream too. So so delicious. Oh my goodness. The butter pecan, anything cashew milk. Now y'all, the vanilla bean with the coconut milk is not it. That's the vanilla coconut bean vanilla.
I'm just realizing, like, we need a good alternative dairy sponsor, because you and I could talk about this like all day.
That was right. We might as well do that. I'm
This
gonna write it
this
down.
So Delicious sponsor. We
Oh,
need
come
to
on
tell
now.
them, yeah, that they need to sponsor our show because we
No,
would
really.
taste test and really
You
talk
would.
about how delicious everything is here.
Telling you. I love it. I'm for it. We could send them this maybe not send them this clip. Let's see though, but they'll probably listen to it. Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
how I like things to
gosh.
happen. I emailed T'Challa on Facebook trying to be part of Black Panther, but he never emailed me back. So I'm all for a shoot your shot type of situation where we're talking about sponsors and stuff. Um, but y'all, I am so excited to start this episode. And when I think about nature and truth and transformation, what we're talking about in environmental wellness today. What I love about nature is that it returns back to itself, right?
Mm,
So you leave this building. We started rewatching Jumanji this week, and all the ivy and the vines, the earth is going to take that back. And so funded, not funded, if you're called to do the work, you're called. The
mhm.
work will figure itself out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this stuff is um scare tactic. It's like a scare calendar almost. Like we can't
Uh,
be
it's a yes and because I think it's also values based, right? Is
it's
what do people
mhm,
value
yes.
and what do they what do they believe in? Like I saw something today and I didn't have time to go down the rabbit hole to
I hear you.
confirm the accurate source.
Mm,
But it said, what did it say? Hang on. It said something. Oh, here it is. It said the average American pays $36 in taxes each year to fund food stamps. That same American pays $670 in taxes each year for corporate subsidies.
mm,
So, I mean, I didn't verify those numbers, y'all. So just
mhm,
saying that, but
mhm,
it sounds about right. And,
mhm.
and I keep seeing, especially with them defunding, have you heard the latest about their defunding PBS and NPR and
No, no,
oh yeah.
updating.
Oh yeah. They're cutting
Mhm,
Elmo's funding.
right,
And I've been seeing stuff all over socials like this is what I want my taxes to go to, right?
right,
And
right.
it's the values based, right? So I think about that. Yes, it being scare tactics, but
Mhm.
also I do think it's about what do they value,
So
right?
and this is not me saying that it's smoke and mirrors and, oh, people are just trying to scare people. Like, these are
Mhm.
real
Yeah.
situations really
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm.
Unemployment is increasing in different categories. Like,
Yeah.
we're seeing the changes and this is actually happening, right? What I
Yeah.
mean when I think about environmental wellness, and we'll talk about it when we get into the definition and the way that we talk about it, Women Connected in Wisdom, is where we center ourselves. Again, I
Right.
think about the environment that
Yeah.
I'm in, right? And what's
Yeah.
going on in the environment that I'm in and the environment of myself, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but I'm excited to talk about horses and stuff today, right?
Right.
So we've
Right.
been talking a lot, especially
Mm.
because we've been talking about horses and how they can feel authenticity over the past few episodes. So when I think about that, it's like, where am I really? Okay, I'm in this organization, funding gets pulled, right? I'm still an amazing artist. I'm still called to
Mhm.
do what I'm called to
Mhm.
do, right? And so sometimes we can internalize those things and feel like we don't have what we need on a daily basis. Yes, it can be true that the funding is pulled today. Yes, it can also be true that I have everything I need today and
Absolutely.
still stay centered through it.
We say in interplay often, like, 2 things can be true at once,
Yeah.
right? It can
Mhm.
be a yes and.
Yeah, like you said.
And,
How you said that.
yeah, it's like, yes, and this is and we often talk on the show
Mm,
about acknowledging grief and gratitude,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And acknowledging that, we don't I mean, I think Sheila's honestly one of the ones that has taught me this, is somebody who's been in my life a long time, and as a social worker, like, we don't look away from the tough stuff. Like, it doesn't we look for the good,
Mm.
and we don't look away from the tough stuff because
Yeah.
we wanna be able to respond if we are like, when you say that about being centered
Mhm.
and being present, my
Mhm.
brain immediately as an activist goes to, "Yeah, so I can do this over here."
Mm. Right, right, right.
Like, how do I stay
Mhm.
healthy and well
Mhm.
so I can show up and, do my work?
I hear what you're saying.
Well, do you want me to read our environmental wellness definition?
Yes. Thank you so
Alright,
much.
let's do it. So, y'all, environmental wellness is supporting your good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that enhance well being. It promotes interaction with nature and also creating enjoyable personal environments, both in and out of your workspace. This includes knowing the types of environments that you thrive in and having an intentional relationship with these places, including the earth.
Mm, I love that. I've been thinking all afternoon about this young lady I was friends with when I was growing up, and we were really young, and it was a big deal if, like, if I had a white friend or if it was a black friend, right? Because I had white friends who were told they couldn't be friends with me because I was black, right? And so it's always like, okay, who's my friend group, who's not, right? And this young lady, she loved horses. Her and her dad had horses, and we separated. I think my dad had got divorced. We moved or something. And one of the first classes I had on Kennesaw State's campus when I was a freshman in college, I said, I think that's Brianna. I said, hey, is your name Brianna? She said, yeah. I said, you like horses, don't you? She was like, yeah. How do you know that? And I said, we were friends in like elementary school and she remembered me. We had a good semester, you know. But I'm super excited to have this conversation with our guest today. But that's what I've been thinking about with environmental wellness and, what we include in our environments.
I've been thinking about, I had the privilege of being in Pittsburgh this
Mm.
last weekend. I went out there for a dear friend. Her dad at Duquesne University was getting a nook
Okay.
uh, dedicated to him in their
Beautiful.
archives because of
Mm,
his lifelong work, and he has since passed. And so I
mm,
went out there to be in support of that, but also to do an event with Sheila, one of our Women Connecting Wisdom, and do an interplay event with Interplay Pittsburgh. And Sheila lives off the Allegheny River, a beautiful location in Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh always surprised me because, when I was growing up, people didn't talk about Pittsburgh as a beautiful place because of the steel mills and stuff like that. So
mm,
I didn't expect it to be as beautiful.
mm.
But reason it's beautiful now is because of Environmental Protection Agency and regulations about emissions and the river. Because used to, people would avoid the river because you couldn't even see across the river. There was
Wow.
so much smog and so much dirt. And in fact, they used to have a thing in Pittsburgh where businessmen would bring two shirts because when they were outside, their white shirt would become dingy because the air was so bad.
Not you
So I
still had to
was
have on white.
Right? And so I was thinking about that, right? About things that our generation and beyond often takes for granted in our environments,
Mm,
about things that, we're used to being able to breathe clean air,
mm.
except for the wildflowers. And I don't know why I'm taking such a negative turn today. Please forgive me, but like all these things are in my brain right now.
And we talked about it, we talk about body memories, we talk about the news
Right?
and seeing this stuff and staying updated, and so I think this is where a lot of our listeners are, even we've talked to people in Canada and people from around the world, and they're still thinking about where we are as Americans, and I appreciate you ladies for holding space for us. Um, but that's the reality of what we're talking about there, and we will talk about beautiful things and celebrating,
Right?
but
Well,
the
and
grief and the
celebrating
gratitude,
that we can look across the river and it's
right?
stunning and
My goodness.
gorgeous. And we were looking at, one of Sheila's friends, Mark
Mm,
Dixon, who I've met, has done a documentary on air quality
mm,
because there was this big thing that happened in Pittsburgh where there was a disaster and it affected environmental stuff. And I was learning about how there's an app, and I'm gonna forget the name of it today, but that you can get on and check your air quality because there's
mm,
volunteers all across the country. And so I checked ours, we were pretty good. We were at, like, 15, and the scale goes up to 100. And, but I was thinking about that, about because, our guests, we were talking before the thing about tech and things
yeah,
like,
right,
there's so many wonderful things, and then I think about the reason we need some of these things, and
right.
all of that's
Yeah,
in my brain today. I can't
yeah,
wait to have this conversation.
it's
So,
gonna
you wanna read the bio? Bring her up?
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay, all right, here we go. Let me get there. Okay, y'all, meet Sue Willoughby, the no-nonsense founder of Willoughby Coaching. Sue's all about helping women over 40 cut through their own BS and reclaim their lives through the raw, honest power of Equus coaching. Imagine getting deep insights about who you are and how you show up, all through connecting with a horse. Sue's journey hasn't been a walk in the park. She was raised by a single alcoholic parent, came out at 17, and hit rock bottom more than once, but she turned it around, moved cross country, and built a kick-ass life and career. A lifelong lover of horses, Sue turned that passion into a coaching business that helps women ditch their fears and step into their authentic power. From being a DJ and stand-up comic to a private pilot and roller derby ref, Sue doesn't just talk about living boldly, she lives it. Now settled outside Seattle with her horse, Moose, 2 dachshunds, and a Volkswagen bus named Arlo, Sue's ready to shake things up and inspire you to get out of your own way and live fully right now. Help us welcome to the stage Sue Willoughby. Hi, Sue.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. And I just got to say, you guys, you made me hungry with the ice cream conversation earlier. Because I was at the barn 2 nights ago and I was there late because I had been working all day, and I went over to the barn to play with my horse. And I was like, do I hear the ice cream truck? You know, that you know, sad little warped song that they all play, right? Yeah. Well, we got ice cream on a stick, so that was super fun.
What type of
Moose
ice
did not
cream
like
did you
his;
get?
he spit it out. It was it had like the chocolate, kind of like what you were talking about, but it was ice cream with the crunchies on the outside.
I love it. I was thinking about those the
It was
other
really good,
day.
yeah, right?
I had to tell myself no. I said no, and I walked to the fruit ones, okay? Yes.
You have more willpower than I do. I'll tell you that right now.
I hear you.
Absolutely.
I hear you.
Absolutely. I love that you have a horse named Moose.
That's it.
He's big. I did not name him. He came with the name, but it is so appropriate because he's 1,200 pounds and 16 hands. And so I'm 5'10", and the top of his back comes right up about my, right about here on me. So he's a big fella. Yeah.
He is a big guy.
Big and tall.
How did you get into coaching with horses? And
oh my goodness,
tell us this story. It sounds fascinating.
It's a how long's this show? No, it was
we've got time for you.
Right. Okay, good. Horses have just always been a thread. I loved them since I was a kid. I love the way they smell. I love the way they, everything about them. And as a little kid, the parents put you to bed early, and it's not even dark out, and I'm sitting there going, what the hell? And I'm looking out my back window, and there's 2 horses drinking out of my kiddie pool. I kid you not. I was like, oh my God, all my dreams have come true. And of course they weren't mine, right? They had broken out. They had escaped from the farm down the street, and were just stopping by for a drink. But, they've just always been a thread in my life. And I would volunteer at summer camp when I was a teenager to work in what I didn't even know then was therapeutic riding. And it was a camp for individuals with special needs. And it was just the best. I mean, I'd stand out there all day in the sun with the flies and everything that goes along with horses. And then later in life, I got back into therapeutic riding as a volunteer in a place near me in Washington State. And there's always been a horse in my life at the darkest of times, the best of times, whether it was my horse or another horse that I just had access to. But we've always sort of helped each other along. So one thing leads to another. And if you're aware enough, you'll pay attention.
I love that. I love that. Shannon was mentioning it's been coming up a lot on our show, which we pay attention to those patterns.
Yeah,
but
I love that.
Our guest Lisa recently was talking about authenticity, especially as it relates to horses. Like, when you think about your coaching and how it works for you with your clients, what do you think? Just give us some insight on how it even works. Like if this is the first time they're hearing about this, what do you want them to know?
Horses don't lie. I'll tell you that right now. The beautiful thing about horses, they don't lie and they don't judge. So when you are in their space, in their energy space, they connect with you at heart level. And we all go through life with a certain facade, right? That we how we want people to see us, or something that we're hiding behind for whatever reason. I mean, it might be a good reason, it might, whatever, but horses don't see that. They don't know your bank account. They don't see what car you drive. They don't care what you're wearing. They don't care if you have any friends. It's not their thing. They don't care. They connect with us on a very deep spiritual and physical level. Their biorhythms can match ours. And if I go to the barn and I am, trying to say, "Oh, I'm having a great day," my horse is like, "No, you're not. No, you're not. You're full of it. I'm standing over here for a second till you're ready to be more congruent with yourself." So the way I work with horses is I use them as a feedback loop with my client. So the client is in the space with the horse. The horse is at liberty to roam around and be a horse, because that's what they do. There's not some special training. They're just being horses. And then I watch how the person interacts with the horse and how the horse is interacting with the person and what the horse is, the feedback that they're giving. And I'll ask the client what they're observing and the horse, and they may not really understand what they're seeing. But if they're trying to put up a facade of some sort with the horse is like, right in there. Like, no, no. But the beauty is they're not going to judge you for whatever it is that you're going through. So that's what I love about it.
So what does that look like? Like, I'm getting the scene in Harry Potter where Hagrid is introducing this horse-like creature, right? And Harry follows all the things that Hagrid says to do, and then here comes Malfoy, and he does something different, and now he's mad that he got kicked or something happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're saying that the horse realizes you are being incongruent, what do?
Any number of things. It depends, because here's the thing. I got to give you a little background on horses. They are prey animals, right? We are predators. Eyes in the front of our head, right? Horses' eyes are on the sides of their heads. So every cell in their body is about processing information. It's about taking in everything from their environment, whether it's through their skin or their ears or all of their senses are processing information constantly, because they need to know if they're safe or not. So when and they're also herd animals, so they communicate with each other. And when we are with them, we are part of their herd. Now, if they feel threatened by us in any way, like Malfoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to act accordingly. And it depends on how threatened they feel. But if it's just they sense that you're not being true to yourself and you're not truly connecting with your body. We were talking about, or I heard you talking about, the body and how everything that we've experienced in our lifetime is in our body. It's at a cellular level, and those things are sensed by the horse, and they do the same thing. I mean, they can connect with us at that level, and it is stunning to watch and to be part of. So they want to know if they're safe or not. And if they feel safe with you, like, you can't force them to do something. It's a conversation. You can request and they will respond accordingly. However they feel. Like, if they feel not safe, then that's what they're going to do. And also, like, if you're just with the horse, they need to know that you're going to be a good leader for them. And if they don't feel that you have good leadership qualities and can keep them safe because you're level-headed and grounded, then they will take care of themselves, always, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
Christine, you're laughing.
I'm giggling because I'm going through all the interactions I've had with horses in my life before, right?
Yeah.
And I'm giggling about one horse I was on. It was at a Girl Scout camp, because I was a Girl Scout leader for years. And I believe in horses and the power of horses. And I had taken my troop to this Girl Scout camp that had horses. And we were all going on an adventure, right? Well, this horse was not happy that I was on its back as a grown adult. It wanted one of the lighter girls, right? It wanted one of the kids. So we're about 3/4 of the way through the trail, and it finds a tree to go and try to get me to come off. It was like, It was like, "No, thank you." And I'm giggling in my head. I was like, "Was I being a good leader, or was it just really because it was the last ride of the day?" And it was like,
Mm,
"Hey, I'm done. Can you please
Yeah.
get off?"
mm,
Yeah. It probably was a little bit of that. It was probably a whole lot of that. They're like, it's time for dinner. I am done here.
And I want the
Trucking around you
10-year-old
guys.
right? I
Yeah.
want the 10-year-old instead of the
right.
the grown adults.
That makes sense too, though. But
Yeah.
no,
Right.
no, that makes sense. I was
Horses
thinking
are
about
funny to me.
this camp I went to, and at the end, we were just supposed to be trotting, right, trotting along. We got to the end, and my horse takes off, and
Mhm.
I was like, I was nervous and scared, but I said, "I should enjoy this moment because how often this is gonna happen, right?" And
Right.
then I was like, "How do you stop a horse?" Like, I don't know. I don't remember what he said, you know? Um, but what would you say about that? All the other horses are walking, mine took off. Was mine, like, super comfortable? Said, "You know what?
We
I think you can handle it. Let's take her for a ride."
Th that's kinda similar to Christine's situation where it was like,
Yeah,
"Horse to the barn. I'm done.
yeah,
There's
Right,
something waiting for me in the barn, and
right.
I don't care. You can come along for the ride, or you can
right,
My
hop
goodness.
off." Yeah.
Mm,
right?
mm,
I
They're
just
taking
it
care of themselves. I mean, they don't.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, and it's a conversation. So, for example, Christine, when you were talking about the horse wanting to rub you off in a tree, they'll
Mhm.
do that, or they'll go, "Oh, here's a nice low branch. Have fun
Right?
with this."
It was trying to do
Uh,
both, right? And I was like, "Hey there, we're almost done." Let's talk to it, and was like, "I get it. It's hot out here." And, but even talking about having this conversation, like, I'm feeling my body relax because I
mm,
think about and I wouldn't say I have a lot of experience, but I grew up in Texas, so I've had enough
mm,
experience, right? And, and just really feeling the longing. Like, what a great thing to do and to be around and
mhm.
to experience. Um, how would you? Because you're in Washington, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm
How
outside of Seattle. Mhm,
and we have listeners all over the nation and sometimes all over the world. If somebody's looking for this kind of therapy, like,
mhm.
where do you even start?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Center for Equus Coaching, which is where I did my training, they have all of our coaches. I'm a certified Equus coach, so that means I do one-on-one. I'm also a master facilitator, so I can also do events, and, multiple, like, group coaching as well. And I do have a couple of retreats that I have lined up, but I can also do retreats that people, if they want me to organize a retreat wherever they are. So you can go there. I mean, that's a great place to start, and you can see if there's a coach in your area. Um, you can also reach out to me, and I might be able to connect you with someone. And if someone wanted to do an event or a retreat of focused around Equus coaching or experiential equine assisted coaching, whatever you want to call it, um, reach out because I might be able to partner with somebody or so. But Center for Equus Coaching is a great place to start because, like I said, we have a directory there.
I love that. And Sue, I have a question, and I think I know the
Yes.
answer, but I want to ask it for our listeners especially.
Mhm.
Like, because as a social worker, how I know about therapeutic coaching is for like especially kids with developmental disabilities or physical disabilities. But when I read your bio and I hear you talk, it sounds like it's for anybody.
Mhm. Yeah. It really is. Now, I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach.
Mhm.
So I'm not a licensed therapist, but there are licensed therapists, and the organization that works with licensed therapists is called EGALA, EGALA. It's an acronym for something, equine something or other, So, but there are coaches that will work with, I mean, therapists, licensed therapists that will work with horse people like myself to do the horse handling, and yet they'll, deal with their client on a more therapeutic level. Let's face it, as a coach, things are going to come up, right? Obviously, if someone's in heavy trauma, I'm going to refer them out. But a lot of people, if they're going through talk therapy or talk coaching, they may have reached a plateau. And this is a great way to kind of break things wide open because not only do the horses not lie, they don't judge, they will get right to the core. Like it might just take one session with the horse get you back into your body and help you peel back the layers that have been keeping you at a plateau. So it's, yeah.
And that's where I wanted to go next. Like, you
Mhm.
talk about the insights, right? What type of insights have you gotten about yourself
Mm.
from spending time with your horses?
Yeah, patience.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about three groups really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all three steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off, the oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. You know, the story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So,
yes, esthetician
yay.
tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, you know, I work with individual coaching clients, I work in community classes, and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. You know, especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
Yeah, patience. I've developed a great deal of patience and awareness, and these are all things that I didn't grow up with, that I was just sort of like, let's just throw the spaghetti against the wall and see what thinks. I was like a bull in a china closet, literally, you know, it's a cliche, but I mean, I just was charging through life because I didn't have any emotional intelligence. I just was like self-preservation all the way. And horses taught me to slow down. You're on their timeline, right? And if you force an issue with a horse, it may end badly, as
Right.
Christine was mentioning, right? So you really do have to slow down. I had a little Arab mare that some friends of mine started sending me pictures of and said, "Oh, look, we've got a free horse for you." And I'm like, "There's no such thing as a free horse, but whatever."
Mhm.
And that little horse, she was a little firecracker. I mean,
Hmm.
she had an interesting life. She was went to, you know, left the barn too early, didn't have the training, and so she was also in self-preservation mode.
Mhm.
And when I got her, I was just going through a really bad breakup of a 14-year relationship, and she was in a barn situation. She was a gray mare, and, just to get a little context here, she had dark gray skin underneath, where sometimes lighter colored horses are pinkish underneath. Okay, so just so that you know that. She had depigmentation around her mouth and around both eyes. I thought was really weird. After I had her for a while, it went away. It dissipated, and it was stress. It was stress related. So she came into my life at a time when I needed her and she needed me, and we, you know, we got through it. We, you know, she was a handful for sure.
What was her
Uh,
name?
her name was Dream Angel,
Oh.
kind of like My Little Pony, right? And she was beautiful. I mean, and that's why a lot of people had adopted or had taken her on, because she was gorgeous. And she just was, you know, she just
Stress.
didn't, she took care of herself. right?
Yeah.
She just took care of herself. And so, I just had to learn patience with her and just say, you know what? I have all day. Let's work through this. Whatever it was that we were working on. You know, she would try a lot of things to be able to get out of either writing or doing something. I mean, she was a very smart little girl, and I was like, "Okay, I'm here. We're in this together, and I have all day to figure this out." And she's like,
Right.
"Oh, no one's ever done that with me before. Okay,
Right? Add the
I guess
patience.
I'm in."
Right?
Everybody would just sort of force her to do stuff, and she's like, "I don't wanna." Boom, you're out of here.
And what would you say to our listeners who might be scared to even try with the
Yeah,
horse? Because they're
I think
big.
they are big. Like I said, my guy's big, but he's a big love bug, really. Well, he can be sassy, but he's got a big no. I was having a conversation with another horse person on my podcast, and she said, they'll give you a yes or a no. She said, I don't want to get on a horse that is so trained, quote unquote, that it's just on autopilot, right? I want a horse that's going to give me
Wow.
a no or a yes. So back to your question. My horse is a very big no. But back to your question. People have had weird experiences with horses for whatever reason, and that may be because they weren't introduced to them properly. So I really make sure that they know how to approach the horse. And it is a conversation, and you don't go up to another person and grab them around the neck and expect them to be like, "Oh, this feels great." Right? It's about
Such a great
boundaries and yeah, and learning how to, this is my space, this is your space. May I enter your space? Yes. Okay, great. I'll come closer. Okay, now I'm curious about you. So it's just taking it slowly and having a better understanding of how horses think, how they behave, why they behave the way that they do, and understanding that they just want to know that you're okay and that
Mhm.
they're just worried about themselves and if it's a safe space. So it's, I'm holding space for the horse, my client, and myself. The horse is holding space for the person, the other person that's in there with them. So it's all about holding space for each
Mm.
other and creating an environment that feels good. And also understanding what's going on in your body. So many times, and I always, get clients to try and ground themselves before they go in, and then all of a sudden they're like up in their heads again, and they're like, "Whoa!" So it's like, okay, let's take some nice deep breaths, and you'll see the horse release. When the horse feels safe, it'll be like it'll just let out a big release. Like, it's just funny. Last night I went over to the barn, once again late, and my horse was eating dinner. And I just pulled up a bucket and sat on it. I opened his stall door and I just sat on it. And he was eating and he'd take a mouthful and he'd stare at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just having dinner with you. I already ate, but he'd go, please feel free to go ahead." And he'd take some bites and he'd watch me. And then, and then we just kind of hung out. And when he was done, we went out in the pasture and it was sort of getting closer to dusk. So there's, different sounds. The birds
Mhm.
were, but we were exploring the environment and I was getting his feedback about what he was, he was very alert last night. And usually he's kind of like, but it was interesting. So it was a fun, you know, just fun to be around him and experience what he was experiencing.
Right. Shannon, have you had much experience with horses?
Not much. I think that this time in high school may have been the first and only so far, but there is a place that's, like, right here by the highway I've been looking at, and I've been thinking about going over there to
I
ride some
know the
horses.
place you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Little House Farm, something like that is the name
Mhm.
of it, I
Nice.
think. We're like, "The horses are out," so yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys down there, but
Mm.
up here it's baby season. So there's little baby horses everywhere. And oh my God, they will melt your heart.
Mm.
Right? Right?
They are
I
just the
have a
cutest.
farm not too far from me that I probably need to go check out because even talking about it, Sue, my body's like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I have a
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to have multiple experience with horses. When I was growing up, my best friend in high school was a horse person, and always
Nice.
rode competition and English saddle, and so had a horse, and then got. I just think about the relationship piece, and when I hear you
Mm.
talking about it, I also hear about mutual respect and respect for ourselves and consent and all the things that you talk about when you're in healthy
Yeah.
relationships, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what I'm hearing as you talk, and just and being really present, because you have to be really present when you're around animals that large.
Mhm. Yes,
No.
you do. For
Mhm.
a number of reasons. And you can't bring your stuff with you, I mean, if you I'm lucky enough to have my horse 5 minutes away, so I can go over and spend 15 minutes with him and be thrilled, and he's thrilled too, he's like, "Oh, we're not riding today." "Yes." "Alright, good." Uh, but that's the beauty of it, right? I don't feel like I have an agenda. They will know if you're bringing an agenda, and, when I was talking to my friend Frida the other day, we were talking about that, like, if you don't have the luxury of time, what can you do? Like, because like you're saying, if somebody's competing or they have something, they have an agenda that they have to do, right? I've got an hour to ride and I need to accomplish A, B, and C. Right? The horse has no clue what your agenda is, nor do they care, right? They're like, whatever. What are you gonna? So it's about that conversation, right? If you go in there and try and force them into doing something or push them in a way that they're into pressure animals, so they'll push right back, right? They'll either flee the situation or they will press right back into you. And I don't necessarily mean physical, but I mean they'll be like, "Okay,
Right,
you're pushing me, I'm gonna push you right back."
right,
Um, so you have to have that conversation. You ask and they respond. You ask and they respond. Are you getting a no or are you getting a yes? And like you said, it's that's why they're so good at teaching leadership and work with relationships because they're honest. They are honest animals.
What is Moose's no? What does he do when it's a no?
For his size and everything and his stature, you would think, he's not afraid of anything. He's the biggest chicken little on the planet. So when I first got him, he wouldn't even like walk into the barn. He had been like in a herd out,
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know what his story is totally, but he's like, "I can't fit in there," he's like, he just doesn't get it, right? And he wouldn't go into the barn, so he had to, like, take it slow, have another horse walk through the gate with him and all of that. So his big no is he puts his brakes on. Like, he'll just, like, put the brakes on and there's no budging him. He's kinda like a mule that way.
Right?
But yeah, he is, that's his big no. Yeah, he'll just plant himself.
And you're not moving him when he's that large. Like,
mm-mm,
So
no,
I have to say, okay, well, what are we scared of? What
right.
once again, it's about the conversation, like walking him into the wash rack, it was kind of like, what is going to happen in here?
mm,
Mhm.
And he'd all freak out. And the thing is, his other no is if he's scared and he pulls back, he's going to keep going. He's going to pull back. Like he's pulled, the cross ties out of the wall and
Good
mhm,
so I
boy.
so I don't tie him. I'm like, "Okay, you don't like that?
Right.
That doesn't feel good? We don't do that." "Okay,
yeah,
great." But he'll stand there. You can drop his lead rope on the ground and he'll stand there. He won't go anywhere.
Mhm.
He just wants to know that he can if he wants to.
Right? Oh, I resonate with that.
mhm,
I resonate with that completely.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I wanted to talk more about that too, about you helping women over 40 face their fears, because we do
Yeah.
that, right? Like we have breaks. What's the I thought I would, but this is a no, like all types of situations like that, right? How do you help them through those situations?
Well, it's great. I mean, with or without a horse. I mean, a lot of the experience that I've had, my comfort zone growing up was discomfort. So I was like, "Sure, let's try that. I don't care. It doesn't bother me." So I help people understand what does it really mean to get out of your comfort zone? What does it really mean to take that little tiny step? Because people think that it's scary. I mean, whatever, and midlife is sort of that great time to start questioning and, is this all there is? So I help women understand that the identity that they have currently or that they have been in doesn't necessarily shape the rest of your life. And with horses, it's a really beautiful way to take a little turtle step to try something new, by watching the horse and creating that curiosity. And horses are so curious. They really are, because they want to know, is that, what is that thing? I'm going to go over here. Oh, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go back. So it does give you that a little bit of give and take with, you can try that. And did that work? Oh, okay. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try it again. Oh, well, is it working or is it not working? Can I try something new? Yes, I can. So it gives you the space to be curious, to build your awareness, and to try new things that, if it doesn't work, you're not out anything. And I think people are afraid to have that beginner mindset and start something new and look stupid and just be. So it's a great place to do that, because the horse doesn't care. The horse doesn't know if you're, looking stupid or not. What are they, you can jump around and dance around. I do all kinds of crazy things, and my horse is like, whatever.
Doesn't care about the dance face.
Right? I know. I was watching the dances when you guys were going. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Christine?
I just said I want to come out and meet Moose. He sounds like a total character.
Yeah.
Like,
do people do group retreats with horses?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Christine.
No, go ahead. That was a great question.
Yeah. So if y'all have a barn down there outside of Atlanta, I'm familiar with the area. Let's do it. Right. We'll do a retreat. But yes. And there's a couple of barns that I work out of. My Equus coaching partner and other podcast partner is also an Equus coach. And we work out of a couple of places in California. So it's usually a small, intimate group, and it's 2 to 3 days typically. And we're out in nature. You're with the horses. We don't just, we throw some energy work into it, some meditation. It's really just about grounding and getting back to center. And listening to your conversation before I joined you, this is such a perfect time to develop those skills of equanimity. And that is something that I really work on every day. And that really, with, my clients, equanimity to me is the key. How can you stay calm and take care of yourself amid all the crazy chaos that's going on around you? You can be in the eye of the storm, figure out a way that you can do that you can feel grounded, and that you can be present and be able to support others by supporting yourself, if that makes sense.
That's
perfect sense. It's what we talk about every week.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Welcome to Women Connected in Wisdom. Yes, we're in the right place.
And when you get knocked off center, how can you come back? Right? Because thinking that you're always going to be in that place is unrealistic. And I think we've been talking about this a lot lately, Sue, because, grateful for all the tools we have in our toolkit and for all the resources we have and people we know and people we're connected to, because some of our regular tools just aren't cutting it right now. It's like, okay, what are we thinking they're working?
Right. Oh, really? Must be dry, yeah.
Or we need 2 or 3 tools to start the day, right? Depending on what we read that morning. So absolutely. And I love putting this tool of Equus, say it. I'm saying it wrong.
Equus
therapy and coaching into our toolbox. Like, I think it is fabulous. So, Sue, we have a few more things before we wrap, but how do people find you? And I know you shouted out, I want you to give a shout out for your podcast, and so people can get connected with you.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, thank you for asking. The name of my podcast is A Life Worth Being, and it's on Apple, and I have a YouTube channel and all of that. I actually have a website specifically for my podcast called alifeworthbeing.com. Nice. And that's also my coaching kind of slogan or whatever. Awaken a life worth being is my tagline for
Oh,
my coaching practice. And my coaching is at willoughbycoaching.com. And then I'm also on Instagram at Sue_Willoughby. So those are all the cool places you can
nice.
find me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot. Every week, when we're talking to guests, we have something called Wisdom in Action, where
Okay.
we talk about when you think about environmental wellness, when you think about the work you do in the world, what are you going to do for yourself this week?
Hmm.
If you could
Good question.
hashtag something, what is your wisdom in action this week?
My wisdom in action is to bring positive energy to everyone and everything. So just, I journal every morning. I have a routine that I do. I get the dogs, we hop in bed, we have coffee. This is a long answer. This is not a hashtag. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Just envision the dogs having
Tell
coffee
us,
with
tell
you.
us. Tell
So,
again,
go to
rewind back to what you have. What do you have? Coffee and toast? What'd you say?
with the
No,
dog.
I get up, I make coffee, then the dogs don't sleep with me, but they get to come in and we do snugs in bed while I do my meditation, I do my journaling, have my coffee, and then I work from bed for a little while. And so it's a really nice way to ease into the day. And it's like every day I have to say, what do I want to bring to the world? How do I want to show up? And, you know, some days it's compassion, some days it's equanimity, some days it's just humility and humanity and whatever it is that, that's how I show up wherever I am. If I'm around other people, if I'm around horses, whatever it is. Sometimes I like to bring curiosity into it. So it's all about, hashtag, how are you going to show up? How are you showing up? Because I think that that's really important. And how
Oh,
we
I
show
love
up
that.
how we show up somewhere, one place is how we show up everywhere, right? So if
Mhm,
you show up
mhm,
and you're negative and you're whatever, that's how you're going to show up everywhere. And
mhm.
as you all know, that what we focus on and what we bring to the world is going to multiply. So if it's, I'm all about raising the vibration and
Right?
I love what you guys are doing and the messages that you're bringing. And yes, it's super important to raise the vibration because I do believe that the higher vibrations are going to push out the lower vibrations for sure.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, keep focused on that. I love
Yeah.
it. Shannon, what are you thinking this week for your wisdom in action?
Ooh. I had a couple of things when Sue was talking about the two things that the that her experience with horses. And you said patient and what else did you say? I wanted to ask you what your second question was. That the insight about yourself that the horses gave, and then I have my answer. Do you remember?
uh, let's see. Patience and
I might have to
curiosity. And
maybe
what
it
was it?
was. I might have to go back and listen to our episode again.
Okay.
I do that
Yeah.
sometimes. I know I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. But we were also talking about a lot of different stuff, and what I wrote down was hashtag creating safe space. Right, that's been a big thing over the last week, and for my environmental wellness, definitely want to continue to do that. And hashtag holding space. I know there's similar. Um, for me, creating a safe space, of course, you can do that for yourself. I'm thinking about in terms of other people, right? But holding space is also for
Mhm.
yourself. Like, yes, there's space for you, and I still need to keep certain amount of space for certain things. And that can't come in. Like you said, Moose is not going to literally press against you, right? But in the situation, you might try to press a little bit. So um, those are two things that I'm focused on this week. What about you, Christine?
No, I have all kinds of things going through my head, and the last thing I had was the picture of Moose with his feet straight out in front of me
Yeah. Put the
and
brakes
just sort of
on.
like putting the brakes on,
The
Mhm.
right?
big no.
The big no,
That could
right?
be a book title or a chapter title too, Sue.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that. I I mean, my environmental wellness this week
Mhm.
is to get out. It's about getting outside
Okay.
and nurturing the things that I've planted.
Oh, I love that.
So it's about like I have a lot of things planted, both metaphorically and physically,
See what you
and
did.
just nurturing those
Yeah,
things
I love
is what I'm gonna work on this week. And I also realized, like, when I realized I was about raising the vibration, I need to clear because I've been traveling a lot and
Mhm.
I know what to do but I realized I got in there were flight delays this week, Sue, because that Newark airport and everything that's happening.
Ooh.
I was in Philadelphia and stuck on a tarmac behind 30 planes. So I got in really late, like at 3 a.m. And so I, of course, just fell over. And I'm realizing, like, oh, I need to hashtag clear it out because
Clear
I
it
think
out.
I got some other people's stuff on me after all the travel
Yeah.
I've been doing.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Right?
Eh.
yeah, I
Like,
love that.
when I stop and say, "Where'd that come from?"
Yeah,
It's my awareness to be aware of, "Hey, that's really not mine,"
yeah,
right?
I
And
love that.
so
Exactly. Yeah.
paying
Yeah,
attention to that piece yeah. So I'm gonna clear it out. That's my hashtag this week
yeah,
also.
Love
So,
it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have so enjoyed this conversation, Sue. Thank you
This was
so
really
much for
fun.
being connected and your work in the world, and, shout out to Moose, like,
yes. Shout out
I
to Moose.
love his self-care, and the fact that
Mm,
if he's not gonna do it, like, well,
the
this is
wall will
gonna
come
be
down, okay?
I need will you send me a picture, Sue?
I
Like,
will.
I would love a
Absolutely.
picture of
Mm,
'cause I sometimes I need to put the brakes on,
mhm.
Yes.
and I love having that visualization of Moose being like, "Nope,
Oh, yeah,
not"
1,200 pounds holding space. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Holding a lot
Right?
of space. Yeah.
Be like
Mhm.
Yeah.
Moose.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I tell people, be the horse, right? Be the horse, be
Right?
curious, be aware, all that awareness was the other thing, maybe. I don't know. I can't
Yes,
remember what it was.
I
Right?
like that, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yes, I think
Um,
it
Right?
was.
yeah.
And when it's a whole body no, it's
Patience and
okay,
awareness.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also, I love listening to our bodies, and if
Yeah.
we don't feel safe, it's a no.
Yeah,
A no.
Yes.
and like you said, to look it in the face, right? Like, I remember, letting one of my pre-shifts some years ago listen to this video, and we were talking about our favorite part of the motivation, and my favorite part was when you look fear in the face, it's not as big as you think it is. So sometimes that's where we are, right? This happened, a breakup happened, skin is turning gray, there's a whole thing, and no, it's not natural. I might make it look good, but it's stress,
Yeah.
like, Dream, what did you say the horse's name
Dream
was?
angel. I used to call her
Dream
Dream.
Dream
Angel.
Dream.
anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so just noticing those things and not judging it, right? We talk about noticing, not judging, just like it sounds like the horses do. Um, and then saying, I'm still going to choose gratitude as the home emotion that I stay at, right? The center that I go back to.
Yeah.
And these things are all happening at the same time throughout the journey,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
Two
it.
things can be true at the same time, Christine. I think
Yeah.
you said
It's
that.
true.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
Stu, we
more.
were just talking about a retreat. We've been dreaming about that for a couple of years, so we will absolutely take it into
That's a
consideration
really good idea.
about the
Yeah.
horse therapy piece and because we haven't even decided where we're going. So we
Yeah.
can have that
Cool.
conversation with you too. That would be
Yeah.
super fun.
Absolutely.
But
Mm,
so
I
grateful
love
to be
collaboration.
connected and oh, we do too. Like
yeah.
it's our jam. So
Mm,
tell Moose and your puppies that we said hello
mhm.
and
Will do.
we're just yeah, so
Thank you
Thank
so
you
grateful.
much
so
for
much
joining
for
us.
all the good energy. Love it. Love it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you again. Talk to you soon.
Oh my gosh, so fun. It
Hmm.
makes me wanna take a trip out. Like,
No,
you
really.
know me. I just got home. I'm home this
Yeah,
month, so
yeah. I'm like,
no
"Ooh,
trip at this
California?"
moment, but
Right, right.
Washington,
No, but she
Washington.
was talking about one of the barns in California, so
Yeah,
we could,
yeah.
what I mean? Like, dream
Well,
a
who
little bit.
knows?
Who
Let's
knows?
dream
Who
a
knows
little.
where we
You
go?
know
Yeah.
me. I love both Seattle, Washington, and California.
Hey,
I'm
and
in.
yeah, and I've been wanting to go to Seattle, so ever since Sleepless in Seattle, I'm like, "Oh, Seattle, that's unique, let's go there." So, yeah, let's see what happens.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh, man, friend, wrapping up episode 195.
I know.
Anything that, we wanna give a shout out?
Mm,
We could say happy early birthday because 'cause
mm,
I'll be here next week, but you won't because 'cause you'll
no.
be off celebrating your birthday.
Yes, I
So
will.
happy early birthday,
Thank you so
and,
much.
I'm
Yes.
excited for you.
Thank you. And I think we do update the good people and listeners and followers of Women Connected in Wisdom and let them know where we are with volume 3, right? Because usually this is when we say, oh my goodness, y'all, doors are closed. We're about to start this book. And that's what we've been used to, right? But what ended up happening this year, y'all, is a little more space. And so we told you doors are closed last week, and that's what happened. We did not hit the 24 or the 8 that we were looking for. And so I want to give a moment to say thank you so much to the ladies who have invested their time. We're so excited to still lift up your stories. I know that we've been excited this whole year, right? But we're going to pause and the breaks are not as, I won't say severe, but they're not 1,200-pound breaks. Okay. But it is a break. It's a light break. Okay. On the book. And so what that means is that we have more space for podcasts, different things that you'll be seeing on YouTube. A lot of you guys have been over there watching our shorts, watching the videos. So we're still here, right, for the rest of the year, doing the podcast, looking forward to some new things like we were just talking about with Sue. So stay tuned.
Right.
And
We have
if you
some
were
good
like,
things coming your
some good
way.
things, right? And if you're like, oh my goodness, I wanted to be part of it, but I was late, or this happened, or like we were talking about, something with fear happened, right?
Yeah.
Email us, get on the list for when we do start again, and we will start again. And we'll be excited to see you and connect with you as always.
Yeah, and make sure you like and subscribe and give us some comments. That helps all of us as podcasters. And
Yeah.
y'all check out Sue's podcast and
Yes, I'm going
just
to.
stay connected. Like
Yeah.
I think we need each other right now.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, let us know what you're doing for your wisdom in action. I like that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for starting off season 24 with us. We will be back. Well, Christine, right, and guests will be back live at 5 next week. In the meantime, don't forget,
Be well.
be wise, and be whole. Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.